Welcome to Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio coverage of bbcon 2012. We are outside Washington, D.C. at the Gaylord Convention Center, and with me now are Casey Golden and Mark Davis. Closest to me is Casey, and he's the Chief Executive Officer of Small Act, and Mark Davis is Director of Product Marketing at Blackbaud. Their seminar topic is Creating Impact with Social Data, Identifying and Harnessing Advocates, Team Leaders, and Hidden VIPs. Sounds very secretive. We're going to unpack that. Gentlemen, welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Casey, why don't you tell us, audience first, what Small Act's work is?
Sure. We're focused in the nonprofit industry to help organizations use social media, but also importantly social data to do a better job on social, but also importantly really realize the value from social and intelligence for all parts of the organization for direct marketing, advocacy, campaigns.
Okay, and why don't we stick with you and see hidden VIPs is the most sort of interesting part of your seminar topic. What are we talking about, hidden VIPs?
Sure. So typically within the nonprofits, they have a large number of people that they receive donations from, but they don't really know the full context of who they are. So they know how much they've been given, maybe how often, or if it's more than once, but they really don't know the context of that gift. And so for most often when we sort of work with nonprofits, there's usually somewhere between 1 to 5% of their list that has a really big potential that they just had no idea was there. So they're kind of hidden gems where either they're a blogger or they're very advanced professional in their career, and so on some really different ways that the people are valuable for organizations, but they're just unknown. All they knew them was as a donor. Yeah. Okay. And Mark, what is it you guys are trying to improve upon? What do we see charities doing incorrectly or not doing that they ought to be with their social data? Sure.
So we're Blackbaud in partnership with Small Act is what we've basically introduced is this concept of a social score. And a social score takes and simplifies for fundraisers, marketing professionals, and nonprofits to really summarize their constituents, whether they be donors or advocates or their supporters, into 4 categories. And those categories span from individuals who are going to be very highly connected through social media. Those individuals we call key influencers. At the second level are going to be those individuals who we call engagers, i.e. those people that can really expand the message and are highly engaged through social networks. And the other 2 categories, which are the masses, are consumers, whether they're consuming from multiple channels, maybe they have a Twitter account and they have a Facebook account, and they're consuming information via those channels, or standard consumers, just an individual has a Facebook profile. So what we're trying to really improve upon is having nonprofits have a better understanding of their supporter base, of their database, to understand how these individuals are interacting through social media. Okay, and scoring people not unlike you would with a screening for financial wealth? Yeah. Are we talking something analogous? Absolutely. So, Blackbaud, we have a whole number of financial scoring metrics, whether it's the giving score, where we can understand people's based off of their ability to give and their interest to give. This really has to do with understanding an individual's connectivity and their reach through social media. How many people can they reach, and through their friends and people that are following them, but also more than just how deep is that reach? How connected are these people? Are they just tweeting once a month? Or are they really tweeting every single day and they have a very strong connection? So really trying to help nonprofits find their Justin Biebers in their database. Okay, and now as an example. Okay, yeah, not a great one, but we'll work with it. It makes the point. Now, so around different social platforms, I do see companies that are trying to tell you how deeply influenced you are, or how deeply influencing you are, or how deeply influencing, let's say in Twitter, your followers are, which is a measure of how deeply influencing you are as well. But you're trying to coalesce this all together, I guess, Casey. Yeah, so I think the value too is that it's not just a general influence, and I think the big value of working in partnership with Blackbaud is that it's relating influence on social to meaningful things inside the nonprofit, to sustainer programs, to annual giving, to advocacy efforts, and I think that's really makes it a difference from any other type of influential rating.
where it's not just does this person connect, but it also incorporates their relationship with the organization, and really kind of bringing out the best and how they can sort of be engaged in a win-win relationship. So we really try to help take that influence and really use that in a meaningful way.
Okay. Now, Mark, is this a Blackbaud product? And what's the name of the product?
It's called the Social Score. And it's available through our target analytics, who, as you aforementioned, the data screening around wealth. They provide the same capabilities for nonprofits around wealth screening, and that same organization can now provide this opportunity around social scoring.
Now, help listeners understand what's the relationship between target analytics and what they're probably most familiar with is your Razor's Edge product. What's the relationship between those two?
Oh, sure,
Target Analytics and the Razor's Edge.
Yeah, absolutely. So Target Analytics is a division of Blackbaud that focuses really on a number of areas, but in particular talking about modeling. It also talks about data enrichment services, which we talked about, which is really taking your database within the Razor's Edge, and the Target Analytics team can add new data that you may not have, like everywhere from the age or giving, or they're giving in other organizations, or in this case, obviously, social media connectivity. And also the Target Analytics team can help an organization with a Razor's Edge database analyze and kind of predictively modeling, understanding, hey, these are individuals who I think you should talk to a little bit more.
So when you're talking to people about in Blackbaud about target analytics, you can say that you want to include the social score?
Absolutely.
Or it's already included?
No, it's an add-on. It's a new data service that Blackbaud launched early this year in partnership with Small Act. And so that's an add-on service. And we can talk about the logistics and how it's doing. It's really easy, actually. So really all an organization needs to do is to give Blackbaud a database, a file. And really all we need in order to match up the social score and a whole bunch of other data really has to do with social networks. It's just an email address. So we'll take that email address, and then using through Small Act service, we provide back to the nonprofit a whole host of information that is all publicly available. So we don't get in and access data that may be on the Facebook's an individual's Facebook profile that's not publicly available. If it's private setting, we don't have access to it. But if it's publicly available, we have access, and we'll give that information. And also, as I said, the social scoring, there's some calculations associated with that.
Okay. Now, Casey, obviously a lot of the work is proprietary, but you can. Why don't you tell us what you can about what Small Act is doing with that email address to come up with the social score for each person?
Sure. So as Mark said, everything it's possible to do this all manually. So just taking maybe 15, 20, 30 minutes to sort of go do your Google searches and find things out there. So what we do is we map an email to the social networks that are sort of publicly available and connected. We also then go a step further where we actually take a look at the person's public behaviors. So the first step is to kind of create the blueprint of where this person is a member of and how they socially network. The second step is to understand their engagement, their networks, their reciprocity levels, all those types of things that would really create a valuable influencer or person who can engage your content, or what style is really going to be best fit. So that's kind of where we do the blueprint, and then we sort of color in the different pieces with a little bit more analytical understanding of what they talk about, who they talk to, how often, how much they share and how much people share with them, etc.
Okay, and how deep are you going into social sites that aren't particularly common? I mean, we can all name the easy ones off the top of our heads, but into, I don't know, maybe Quora is one, but how deep are you able to go? Yeah, so at a sort of maximum capacity that we find somewhere between 20 to 25 different networks. So interestingly enough, you mentioned Quora. When we were working with National Wildlife, as one of the interesting things found in that analysis, those who had a membership on Quora actually gave significantly more. So it's a very interesting sort of subset of them that they hadn't even thought about before, because it's a sort of minor network. So it's comprehensive that way, but it's a full set. Okay. Now on Tony Martignetti Nonprofit Radio, I have Jargon Jail, which I'm probably guilty of myself, because Quora, because it's not that well known. Yep. It is among some circles, but it's not in others. So it's first, for listeners, it's spelled Quora. And Casey, I'm going to ask you to. I participated in it only very lightly.
Yep.
Why don't you explain how Quora works and why it might be valuable for charities?
Sure. So I think there's a different couple ways to describe it, but in viewing it from our perspective, there's a lot of thought leaders there, right? It's people who have opinions, who have something to say, and usually it's not just chatter conversation. It's usually a little bit more meaningful, sort of kind of like a conversational sort of dialogue versus just chit-chat back and forth.
Yeah.
And we found there's some really interesting, again, thought leaders, not just conversationalists perhaps. They really kind of put a little bit of time into that.
And who are some of the thought leaders in the charity community?
I mean, there's a lot. I mean, it really depends upon the specific area,
okay.
And so it ranges across the board, whether it's healthcare or sort of education or different wildlife-related organizations.
Okay. Mark, so now we've identified, why don't you give the 4 categories again, just
Sure.
quickly, just tick those off.
Yeah, so the 4 categories at the top of the level, which represents approximately about, and this is based off of data from Blackbaud and small act customers that we evaluated, but in general, about the top 1% of an organization's database are those individuals who are going to be key influencers,
Okay.
and that's the top of the pyramid. These are the individuals, excuse my example, but Justin Bieber's got all the Twitter followers, he's got everyone who tracks, and he's very active on that example. It's a terrible example, I agree,
Now,
Tony.
could Craig Newmark, founder of Craigslist,
Yes.
would he be a key influencer?
Yes, he
okay,
would
let's
be.
use him. He's been a guest on the show twice, actually.
Fair enough, fair enough.
So
much better. You haven't gotten Justin yet.
I have not had Justin.
Okay.
We turned him down, actually. I would if he came.
Okay,
If he came to me.
so that's the key influence. These are individuals who are again have a wide audience.
Sure.
And they're generating lots of content, and their content has lives through a very viral method in terms of it continues to be connected and repurposed.
Okay.
Then the next group are engagers. These are individuals who represent about 5% of the population, but actually generate over nearly 80% of the content. So these are people who are in there doing consumer reviews. They're updating constantly through Facebook. They may not necessarily have as wide of a range of connections as the key influencers, but their level of engagement is so high that they become influential in terms of the amount of content they're generating and the influence they can have. And then the other 2 categories, which are the masses, roughly between around 40% are going to be the multi-channel consumers. These are people that we would describe as being on multiple major networks. So they usually have a Facebook and a LinkedIn profile or perhaps a Twitter profile. And then last but not least are the standard consumers. These are individuals who are kind of basically are most comfortable and stay in one particular network. And these last 2 groups are the people not necessarily creating lots of content, but they're consuming content, and they're using Facebook and LinkedIn, all the social networks, to be connected with obviously all their friends and family.
Okay, I'm going to take a risk here now and
Sure.
try to put myself into one of these categories. So this podcast gets about 1,100 listeners per week. Been doing it for 2 years, so we have over 100 episodes. It's weekly. I'm totally, if I end up on the standard consumer, I'll really be disappointed. So as a standard consumer, I have a blog that gets between 3,500 and 4,000 unique visitors, not hits, but unique visitors per month. Twitter, about 1,800 or so followers, following about 600 people. Facebook, doesn't matter, Facebook radio show page has just about, just scarcely 800 likes. I don't know if the number of likes. Did I reach key influencer, Casey?
Yes.
No, I'm not key. No, I didn't mean that. I really didn't mean key influencer because that's Craig Newmark. Do I reach engager? Could I be engager status?
So actually doing a little bit of profiling on you prior to this, you would definitely be actually in the key influencer category. I mean, Craig Newmark is, like
Are you serious?
0.001%. Yeah, absolutely.
Congratulations.
Yep.
Oh, cool. You're not just
So,
saying that.
no,
Because I'll still
no.
air the segment if you don't say that.
No, I can
Okay.
send you a profile.
All right,
you can-
so we were naming the real outliers
Yeah.
among the
Yeah, we knew
among
all
the
that
key
already.
influencers.
Everything you told us, we already know that.
Okay. All right. Because if you came on and you said, key influencers were like Tony Martignetti, that wouldn't.
No, it's 1%.
It doesn't make the point.
We lower the bar. I mean, not lower the bar. That's the wrong way. But obviously, the key influencers. You don't have to be the super key influencers.
Okay. Oh, that's cool. All right. Thank you. All right. So now we have these people categorized. We have our followers categorized. Mark, let's get started with some advice on what to do with this information now that's valuable.
Sure, and that's our session really goes into a lot of that, because what we want to do is we want to obviously educate nonprofits in terms of that this information is available, that it is useful, but obviously a lot of nonprofits, they're most interested in how can I use it to find advocates and volunteers, or more specifically, how can I use it to help my fundraising. So with the work in partnership with Small Act and all the organizations that we've worked with jointly together, we've begun to understand that this information is valuable because there are certain key attributes and trends that these different groups, they follow. So we tracked and analyzed individuals based off of their fundraising potential. So could potentially the scoring and the presence of these individuals on certain networks, could that actually be a predictor in terms of their ability to give? So a good example of that is LinkedIn. LinkedIn profiles individuals who are on LinkedIn generally, based off the data we've seen in terms of customers who've used the information, these individuals have higher lifetime value and they give higher average gifts. Makes sense, right? Because they're employed, they're obviously well connected through the workplace, they care about their career, so therefore these individuals are generally speaking going to be more wealthy. So that's a very easy example. More complicated or more sophisticated examples, certainly not complicated, but definitely more sophisticated examples would be the correlation of an individual who is highly connected, whether the key influencer or an engager, for instance, at the top of the tier, and their ability to reach individuals and, say, for instance, a peer-to-peer fundraising event. So another group of organizations that we've been working with a lot, who've had a lot of success on this, is using it to predict, hey, if I'm highly connected, if I can create a network of people through Facebook and Twitter, LinkedIn, for instance, or through my own blog, then very likely I know a lot of people. And if I know a lot of people, then likely I can reach a lot of people to ask them to give me a gift. So if I'm walking for Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure, or American Diabetes Association, American Heart Association, these types of organizations can use this information to predict who would be good team captains, potentially for a walk, because these individuals naturally are good recruiters, they're very sociable, so it's a very good predictor like that. And a third good example that we highlight that really gets a lot of nonprofits thinking is the multi-channel consumer. This is not a key influencer, not an engager, but that third level. There's a lot of them out there.
I feel bad for as a key influencer, I feel bad for the multi-channel consumers.
Well, there's a lot of them,
it's almost pity.
They outnumber you quite a bit. But it's a good predictor because a lot of nonprofits struggle with who could they connect with through online channels. Who's going to be a good individual who may give an online gift, who may be an individual who will consume email and communications through the online channel. So organizations we've been working with have been using that to predict who could be a good opportunity to give a sustainer gift, a monthly online gift, which is very valuable for nonprofits because it's recurring revenue, it's in a longer term engagement with the nonprofit, and an individual who's willing to say, I'm going to give $50 per month for the next 5 years is actually worth a lot more than individuals who's going to give a one-time gift of $600 because they have that connection, not that you overuse that term, but that commitment to the nonprofit organization. So a lot of the information we've been receiving from organizations is that multi-channel consumer, they're used to being online and they're comfortable being online. So that's a good predictor of individuals you can target for those types of online campaigns.
Okay, interesting. Now, what I didn't hear you say is that you approach them about using their networks or talking to their networks about your work directly.
Yeah.
Trying to help you spread your message through their networks, but in a more explicit way. I mean, you're trying to do it subtly, it sounds like.
Yeah, and all three of those examples, they are, think of it this way, an organization that's using the Razor's Edge or using whatever database or CRM system they're using, this is additional information that can help them target those people for specific existing campaigns.
Yeah.
What you're talking about, which I think is also a very good example, which I know Casey likes to use the term citizen journalists, is finding those top tier individuals who they're in your database. So how are they in your database? How are they connected to you? Can you start cultivating these people to be an extension really of your marketing? Can they get out in front of a news story or potentially some sort of conflict or something like that where they can actually help?
Something newsworthy that relates to either if not directly to your charity, certainly to the work that you're doing. and how can they help spread that?
Yep, and they can spread the message, they can spread your message, they can connect directly with their people, they can potentially become an advocate for your position if it happens to be in conflict with something else that's going on, maybe that's newsworthy.
Casey, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and a couple examples too. It really also gives local smaller nonprofits the ability to understand. So one example is Maryland Public Television. In working with them, they were able to find this key blogger who lives in Baltimore, who they didn't know her sophistication, and she was a key influencer. They're engaging her by just calling her out and say, hey, come down to our facility and see what we do, and understanding she's big on a lot of sort of women's issues and programming and things like that. So the key is, when you find these influential people, make sure that whatever it is you're asking them to do aligns with their existing passion. You're not going to change their heart, just giving them a place to share their heart and really kind of connect it with your mission. That's where I've seen a lot of really great things happen. In another panel here, so the exact same thing, really kind of working with where they are emotionally and matching up your mission to how they'd be happy to promote it. Number one, because they'd be more likely to do it, but number two, their audience knows that they're an expert on that, or that's something that they really care about as well.
Casey, what is it you love about this work? What makes you wake up every morning motivated?
Sure. Honestly, I really love helping great organizations who do great things. In starting this particular company, that's why I focused on the nonprofit industry instead of a lot of other compelling, commercial areas we could have gone. Nope, only nonprofits. Yep, only nonprofits. Okay. And really, I was speaking with someone from St. Jude today. Anything we can do to help, kids go through that life experience better, and that's awesome. It's not just a job; it's a life experience, and so that's what makes it worthwhile for us.
We have to leave it there, gentlemen. I want to thank you very much. Casey Golden is CEO of Small Act, and Mark Davis is Director of Product Marketing for Blackbaud. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's been a real pleasure. It's Tony Martignetti, key influencer. Tony Martignetti, nonprofit radio coverage. I'm going to change the name of the show, of bbcon 2012. I want to thank you very much for being with us.